Hiya, welcome back. I've been busy, right? Last time we looked at this project, we had the router basically being mounted on the table. In the meantime, I've drilled a hole for it, and I've put the case back on, and there are some changes. There are actually some changes in the design. Remember when I said that I wasn't going to use the tilt mechanism for this? I changed my mind. Because if you look at this, and I'm just going to try and tweak the camera just a little bit. That should do it. There we go. If you look at this, you see the motor here, right, which we have stripped down and screwed in place. With this construction here, basically when you turn it, you know, it goes all the way down and goes all the way up. Brilliantly, right. So what happens if you have to take this out to maintain this? Well, yeah, you will have to, like, you know, get all these screws loose or those screws loose. You know, that stuff is going to be in the way to do anything to it. Let me introduce you to maintenance mode. Maintenance mode. And I'm just going to grab the camera here so I can show you, right? So what I've put back is the thing that I took out at the very first time, saying like, okay, I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to, you know, like, not going to be bothered with this. Well, I changed my mind, because I actually put it back in and gave it some additional features, like this knob here that you can tighten or loosen, which basically goes through here. You know, and it's just a plate with a little bit of wire in it, right? So I'm loosening this, right? So let's just imagine that we want to do something with this engine, like take it out or clean it out or do whatever we want to do. We just turn this knob here, and look at that. Look at that, it just swings away, giving us all the access to this area that we want. And whatever we've done in terms of maintenance or cleaning or whatever, we just put this all back, just like that, lock it into place, and there we're done. Right? So there's another feature that I added. As you can tell, like I've got a really nice method of like putting this up and putting this down. But you kind of can imagine that, you know, when you're doing a project where you're doing like 15 to 20 pieces, you know, and they all have to be cut the same, with the vibration, this might just like go off a little bit. Right? Now, the original design had a screw right here going in there that actually locks it into place. So what I've done is I drilled a hole in the screw, put a threaded bar in there, leave it all the way out to here. So if I do want to lock it into position, I just turn this and it is locked in position, right? It's even so much locked in position you could even, I'll just try and get it loose there. Locked in position, you could even turn this away and it will still be there. So there you go. Right, that is what I call repurposing the technology that we have at hand. So other things that I've done. Here is and I'm just going to put some light on it. Surprise, surprise, one of the handle grips is actually mounted on the side here. And I was thinking like, okay, I need to get this squeeze trigger action some way or somehow, you know, on this box to make it control manually. So, and I've been taking it apart and looking at it, and actually the simplest way to do it was actually just to drill a hole right there, and you can see my connectors that I already made. Drill a hole there, mount it, you know, it is good as any old switch, right? So then we come to the part where I removed the RPM control from here. Like I just taped it over just to prevent the dust coming out. And behind it was a little board that I actually constructed a little wood web fabrication here, and I hope you can see it. It's just like simple piece of wood construction to keep a little plate in place and allow it to screw it in from the front where the old switch used to be from the table saw, where I can actually turn this knob and change the RPM. So I've already started like in putting in the wiring. I've been using these connectors, so like the main power is coming through here, right? It's going into the switch, and then it's going from here to the block here. I need to still solder that in, and then it will come out with 4 wires in this loom I've already made. That is going to, and that's what I love about this thing, because I can show you there. Is going to go in there, so it's just going to have a loom, a flexible loom going there. You know, that's just going to be absolutely great. That's just exactly what we want. So what is left for me to do is get all this wiring into place. What I will do is I will get this little wooden construction out, because like it is just begging to collect dust. So once I've soldered in the wires and the connectors, I'm probably just going to put a lot of duct tape around it, right? You might say like, okay, you know, duct tape around it. Like, what if you want to get back in there and change the board? You remove the duct tape, you genius. So here we are, moment of truth. I've put the table upright position. It's plugged in. This is nothing. It's plugged in. Right, just to be safe, I've put the RPM at the lowest possible rate. So what we basically have here, we have our controls here in front. We have our up and down movement here. We have our start button and lock here, and we have a way of locking the router in a certain position, just in case we're worried that is going to run off when we use just the wheel. So, okay, this is scary. Okay, Mr. Clippy, I'm just going to leave you in charge of the camera here. Oh, there we go. So basically what it should do is, like, I have control here. So if I squeeze this button, the router should start. It is starting. So now if I squeeze the button and lock it, the router is running hands-free. Now let us just check how the RPM setting goes. that's all it takes, just a little squeeze and it comes back right online. Actually, I like this better than just the old flick switch, because it's just like, it's kind of like a panic button. You just squeeze it and it's done. Hi and welcome back. We're going to wrap up the project of the router, and as you see, I've basically built up my router, put my control on the side here. I'm using the old guide from the table saw, and basically we got the guide here from the little router table that I have, or had, and I cannibalized it to have a guide to go along here. Even got some dust suction going on here that I connected to the hoses at the back here, so I can put a hose in here. As we were constructing it earlier, I did connect the hose inside to the back of the router, so we can easily access the router here, switch the blades, but I can actually still access the fine distance setting here. We can lower and upper the bit here with this handle I'm turning, so we have that control of going up and going down. We do have the maintenance mechanism in place, because as you remember, I made this kind of wooden bracket that actually pushes the router up and down. So if we want to remove the router, loosening 4 screws that are there, you might say, okay, that is going to go into the way. Not if we put it in maintenance mode, so I'm just going to loosen this screw here. And basically what I do is just turn this away, and you can see the mechanism just turning away, and we can have full access to the router here and actually remove it if we need to. So I'm just going to put it back. There we are. I'm going to fasten it. Alright. So I'm just going to put this plate back into place. So again, I can move the router a bit up and adjust my sides here. There we go. So we can actually put a piece of wood there, and I'm just going to grab a piece here. Let's give this a try. I just need to make sure that the guide is aligned. So I'm just going to clamp it down here. There we go. So that will slide through, keep everything in place. So over here we can switch it on. Over here we can change the RPM from maximum to anything lower that we want. Right. So let's give this a go. Okay, now that is a nice straight cut, much better than the little table router that I had, much more stable. Okay, so that proves that the concept works, right? Now, it's not the only thing that I've actually created for my router table, because imagine you want to do something with more precision. I've made this. So what I can basically do now is remove this guide, okay, like that, so it goes off. Just put it to the side here, mount this on the guide here. Needs a little bit of helping hand to get in there. There we go. Okay, and we can secure it into place with these bolts. There we go. So I'm just going to use the other side here. And I'm just going to clamp in the piece. Now this part is actually a part of the old router guide that I just got off there. So I can actually here so I can know where it actually ends up. But the whole idea is that you're able that you can clamp a piece of wood, right, and start it up. Turn this and move it like this. So there we are. That's our brand new table router. And we spent nothing on this. I actually put a little shelf in here just to put on pieces that I figured that might be useful. Like this is a stop piece that I made. That's basically you can kind of clip this in. Like that, move it around and have a stop piece. So if you're like making 5-6 different pieces, you can actually say okay, no further than that. So these are just little handy little things to have and very simple to make. So like the knobs are all broomsticks, and I just jammed a nut in there and it just goes in here, slides in, and you tighten it. Right, so also got these little guides like this one here. If I don't want to use the big one, I can use the small one. So just to be sure that whatever you're putting through is being nicely put against the guide here. Now this is all kind of repurposed from the old little router table. So now we have a big router table. Hooray! Okay, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time for the next project, which I'm sure is going to be a lot of fun. Right, thank you for watching, and bye bye.